So I got some people, nobody deserted me. That's great. So, got my stove camera back. Everything's good. So I just want to melt this butter. I don't want to make it boil or fry. And I've got about a stick of butter, which is 8 tablespoons, and it's a 1/4 pound of butter. That's going to make enough bechamel, plenty of bechamel for my vegetables. So I'm going to wait for that to melt, and then all I'm adding to it is a little bit of flour. And because I know what I'm using this for, which is a cheese sauce, then I can incorporate the cheese that I bought. I got myself a nice block of disappearing. Oh, that's not it. No, I was ready for today. I was all set. Put my stuff in. Got myself a good piece of artisan cheddar to use for my cheese sauce. Now I can grate this and put it into the bechamel, and I'm gonna make this is basically gonna add as another thickener to my bechamel. So is everyone still here? I hope so. Let me know. Give me a shout out in chat so I know that I'm not talking to space. You're here. Give me a holler. Oh, okay. Are you back, Be okay? James, are you here? Let me know. Doobie doobie doobie. I'm gonna continue on as if I'm back in the room. Back now, excellent. So I'm gonna take my same thing that we do when we're cutting vegetables. Go to the table camera. Same thing we do when cutting with vegetables or anything else. We're gonna use the cutting blade, which is the center part of the knife. And we're just gonna take it and get the tip to the table, and we're gonna push straight down, okay? Safety first. So whenever you're cutting your body's at an angle and you're pushing straight down through the cheese. I'm just gonna make blocks and I'm basically gonna melt into the cheese sauce. Now I probably am gonna make enough roux that'll have some extra, but I wanted to make it again anyway so that you could see it. So we're gonna cut up our cheese. Sorry about the little technical difficulties starting off, but it happens. We'll scroll down on the audio so I can see the microphone. Yay! No, scroll down. There it is. No, scroll all the way down. No, to the, yeah, go all the way down. There it is. Thank you. Now I can see my volume. What's going on? All right. There's my cheese, nicely cut up. Put it aside, and we're going to feed this into our bechamel slowly and let it melt. Because we don't want to throw it all in there, it will change the temperature and it will just take longer for it to melt. So once we get our bechamel going, we're just going to start feeding the cheese into it to make a cheese sauce. And by feeding it in, we can get the right consistency and flavor that we want. So we don't just dump the cheese in there, we just keep feeding it and it keeps melting until we get the right flavor. So I'll put my cheese over here, my butter is just about melted. Like I said, I'm not trying to cook it, not trying to fry it, so I don't want to hear any noise. I just want to get that butter nicely melted. And then I'm gonna bring it up to a slight temperature so that when I sprinkle the flour onto it, it's got a nice sizzle to it. I don't want to burn the butter. I don't even want to brown the butter. I don't want to create any, I'm just trying to get it melted. So, how's everyone's day? My day's going, like I said, I've been busy, so my day is going good so far. I'm excited about the stream, I really am. I'm so glad. That's all I thought about last night was how to improve the stream, and then we start right off, we have technical difficulties, so. And I think that comes with the territory. It really does. So, we're gonna work on I'll move my stuff over here. My butter's just about ready, or butter on the stove, go to the stove. See, that's about where I want it. I got a little bit of steam coming off of it, but it's just nicely melted. Now if I take my flour, which I use all-purpose flour, which once we get into our grains, then we'll be able to talk about the difference between the flour, the different types of flour, but for now we're just gonna use generic all-purpose flour. Because did you know all-purpose? I legit waited until 7. It was 7 just to be here for the stream. Thank you. Thank you so much. What about cornstarch? Yes, you can absolutely make a roux with cornstarch if you have gluten allergy and you want to make, but you have to remember that cornstarch doesn't do the same thing flour does, so you have to be a little bit more cautious with cornstarch. It will make a roux, but it tends to have a different texture. But you can make it the same way. And I can make, like I was doing gluten-free, like chicken Alfredo. And I had to use the cornstarch to make the Alfredo with. So it took some experimenting with, and you really can't brown it, so you can't get like a dark roux. But you can certainly make a blonde roux out of it, because it's really just a thickener. Add it with the butter, and sit there and stir in the cornstarch, and let it toast. But it doesn't react the same way that flour does. But yes, you can use. I prefer flour, just because that's classic. I don't have anybody that has gluten allergy, so I'm perfectly fine with using, like I said, all-purpose flour. So I got my roux going. And now remember, we're making a bechamel, so we're only trying to get to a blonde colored roux. Probably use a little bit more flour.
Because it came out gummy.
What?
This is gummy. Yes, GF here, it came out gummy.
Yes, you use gluten-free here, and it came out gummy. Yeah, that's the problem with cornstarch, is cornstarch does not absorb water. So whatever the amount of cornstarch that you put into it, that's the amount that stays in there. It never breaks down. So whenever you, like I said, you have to be cautious with cornstarch. I like to use, like, per volume to flour, I like to use half. And if you can also get like tapioca flour, which it tends to brown better. Anything, cornstarch is a great thickener, but you really can't do anything to it because it doesn't cook, it doesn't absorb. It's kind of its own entity, and there's not a lot you do with it. And if you add too much, like you said, it will get gummy. Because what happens is that cornstarch, basically whenever this stops moving, the cornstarch will solidify and turn solid. So if you're going to make a bechamel and you want it gluten-free, try the other flours that are available to you that are gluten-free flours, because cornstarch is great for thickening, but it doesn't cook very well. So I tend to stay away from that if I make it. But like I said, I made that Alfredo and I didn't really need to toast or do anything to the cornstarch. I've used tapioca oil and it came out the same, gummy. Well, I'll tell you what, tomorrow we'll do that. I'll grab a bunch of different flours and we'll find out what works best and quantity-wise. If you're here tomorrow, then we'll run over that. I don't have any tapioca, I don't have any, because there's a multitude now, especially since there's more of an acute reaction to gluten. There's a lot more flours available, and this weekend I'll make sure. And if I can come up with something, the Realistic Chef, that will work and that is consistently the same as this, then I will certainly. I'll either whisper you and give you the idea, or I'll just do it Monday on stream, so that we can iron that out. I haven't had any problems with it because I know what cornstarch does, because it scares me, because really all it does is just thicken. You can't cook it, you really can't do anything to it, and you immediately taste it. And most people that are gluten sensitive, they know that they're not going to get that same rich flour flavor that you get, and they're kind of accepting to it. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, the gumminess part. Because you're basically, like I said, you're basically dealing with a straight thickener. So it's tricky. It's just like making gluten-free bread. You run into the same thing. You can make gluten-free bricks all day long. You can build a house with gluten-free bricks. But to make a soft gluten-free bread, that takes a lot of trial and error, and more error than trial. So all I'm doing is I'm cooking my roux on a medium-low temperature, just so that we can have a nice smell. It should start to smell like biscuits. It should start to turn just slightly brown. Now this is way more roux than what I'm gonna need for the cheese sauce. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set, once this gets to the point where I like it, then I'm gonna take it out of this pan, I'm gonna set it aside, and then I'll start with the heavy cream, adding the cheese, and then I'll come in and I'll start using this roux as an additive to thicken it, because the cheese is a natural thickener also. So what I wanna do is combat the two. Basically taking the heavy cream, which is already thick, adding the cheese to it, which will thicken it, and then add the roux to it. So the bechamel that we're making basically a cream sauce, and we're using the roux, because we can make the straight bechamel and start adding the cheese to it, but this way you'll have more control over it. At least it'll be easier to control it, because it will thicken up really quick, and the cooler it gets, the more thick it gets. So as it starts to cool down, it will also get thicker. So let's grab this. So my roux is about perfect. It's just started to turn one shade. I'm gonna dump this into my little handy dandy measuring cup. Hopefully it doesn't melt it. It's making a sizzly sound. If it melts it, then we'll cut to camera, and the special effects will come in and make a different roux, and it won't melt my container. So, okay. So I'm not even gonna rinse out the pan. I just wanna start warming up my cream. So I'm gonna put my cream right in there. It's probably gonna make a little bit of noise. See, and I'm using heavy cream because of the milk fat, and I got a little bit of residue of the bechamel still in there, the roux, so it's a good starting point. But I want to get this warm before I put the cheese in it, just because I don't want to fight the temperature of the heavy cream and the cheese at the same time. So we're going to warm up this heavy cream. And this cheese sauce can be put in macaroni and cheese. It just depends on the thickness, because remember, once you put cream sauce in a mac and cheese, then you end up putting it back in the oven to finish it, and the more it sits in the heat, the harder it gets. So you're almost putting a runny type. Whenever we go to pastas and grains, and we actually make macaroni and cheese, and the different types of macaroni and cheese that we can make, the truffle mac and cheese, the 6 cheese mac and cheese, standard American macaroni and cheese, then you'll see that it's a lot runnier than like a cheese sauce that we're going to put over top of the broccoli. So I'm going to warm this up. I'm going to turn it down so I don't have to pay all my attention to it. I've got my roux. I'm going to set that aside. Now what I want to do is, being my cheese sauce is started, I want my tech to go back to the cutting table. He's falling asleep back there. He's only got one finger to do all of his job today, so he's really upset. Cut his finger at work.
Got my arm or hand.
No, settle down. He still has all his fingers. We're not going to start a charity for him. He's still
What happens when you let your knife leave the cutting board, kids?
Yep. Cut his hand today.
Get stitches.
Amateur. No, I'm kidding. So, I don't know why the dogs are going crazy. So, broccoli, just like we did yesterday, I'm going to cut it the exact same way. The curse of cooking broccoli, let me get a pan. Hang on with me, folks. Hang on, I'm a little askew today. I don't want to be askew. Okay, got my pan, put some water in it. Now, broccoli is considered a soft vegetable. Okay, and what I mean by soft vegetable is there's 2 ways to cook vegetables. Either you're cooking a hard vegetable or you're cooking a soft vegetable. And I did this yesterday, and it turned out perfect. And I've done this like for years and years and years, and it always turns out perfect. So if you want a perfectly cooked vegetable every time that you don't have to worry about, this is the only way I know that works perfectly every time. So we're going to move our stock pot. We're going to move our bechamel over here, aka our cheese sauce, which is just about right. So let me move that back and I'll show you what I do. We on the stove, thank you. So we're just gonna start adding cheese to it. That's all we're gonna do, because we want this to melt. And all that's gonna melt this, because we don't have it very hot and we don't want this milk to boil. Because remember, any substantial amount of heat to any type of cream, like heavy cream or milk, will start to immediately separate the whey from the cheese. So we're not trying to cook the cheese. All we're trying to do, we don't want it to boil. We just want a nice steady heat to it. We don't even want it to move. And we're gonna let our cheese sit here, and a couple more in there, just for funsies. And we want our cheese to just start to melt. And then we'll mix it in there once it starts to melt. So we're gonna move that over to this burner. Again, we're on about medium, low. If that heavy cream starts to move around, then we have to take it and turn it back down. We're gonna put our water. This is the most amazing trick I've got for you guys when it comes to vegetables. I put it on high because I want the water to boil. Because the only time you ever put a stove on high is if you're boiling water or if you're searing a steak in a hot pan. If you drink. Otherwise, I never put my stove on high. So right now I'm boiling water. So we go to the cutting board. Yeah, broccoli. We're gonna cut up some broccoli now. So all we're doing is we're cutting the branch off of the main stem. Okay, and this is how, if you ever cut broccoli, and if you ever cut a lot of broccoli, that you always end up with just an array of broccoli pieces all over your cutting board. It looks like a green forest. Well, this is the only way I know how to make sure that that doesn't happen. You take the broccoli and you take the stem and you cut down into the broccoli. Before you get to the head, you pull it apart, okay? And the reason we're doing this is because if you don't reduce the thickness of the stem, then the floret or the flowers they'll overcook, and the stem itself will still be crunchy. So you take this, like I said, you're cutting down into it, and you peel. We did this yesterday, so anyone that was in here yesterday knows that we're just repeating ourselves. But I think it's super important that once we start to do stuff, repetition breeds skill. So if you just treat your soft vegetable, which is what this is, and I'll explain that whenever we start to cook it. Once we do this, so all we're doing is, like I said, we're just splitting down the middle, and then before we get to the floret, then we just pull it apart. If you look at my cutting board, I'm getting all my broccolis in the bowl. I'm not getting that shower of broccoli flowers all over my cutting board. So we're just doing this. We just peel it and it all stays on the stem. Now if I cut all the way through it, it starts cutting off all the flower tops, and it all sprays all over the place, and it's just messy to clean up. This way we get a nice, evenly thick piece of broccoli, so whenever we cook it, it cooks all the way through and it doesn't overcook the delicate top part of the broccoli. So we put our water on the stove. We're going to bring that to a boil, okay? Now, this is a soft vegetable. So there's two types of vegetable. There's a hard vegetable and there's a soft vegetable. And if you ever cook vegetables, the trick to it is timing. Because this stuff will go from cooked to overcooked in a matter of seconds. So this is a way I found to where you can cook your vegetables. You can leave them on the back of the stove once they're done, and you don't have to worry about it. And it works every time. I haven't been able, and I spent a lot of time trying to make this not work, because I don't really like saying stuff unless I really thoroughly test it out and make sure that what I'm doing actually works. So we're basically breaking down the stem because it's thick, because remember, heat has to permeate the stalk of the broccoli to cook it. It has to react to the water molecules inside the broccoli and get them moving around for them to actually cook the food. So a thick piece of broccoli stem isn't going to react by the time the top part, this delicate part, by the time it's just gone. So it turns all mushy. So we split our broccoli evenly into sections. Like so. That's pretty good. I'm gonna save you. We're saving him. Save the broccoli. So now we've got that cut up. If you look at my cutting board, I don't have any of the sprayed out covered chunks of broccoli. So all my broccoli is now in a bowl. It's not all over the table. This goes in the stock pot. Stock pot. So my cheese is starting to cook. I'm gonna come over here. I just want to stir it. Now my cheese, the heavy cream inside my cheese is starting to boil a little bit. So because I have an electric stove, I'm going to turn that down and push it off the burner because I want to bring that back down to a good temperature. So my cheese is starting to melt. It's pretty good right there. Just give it a little stir. I'm going to leave it off the stove right now. There's plenty of kinetic energy in there for that to start to melt the cheese and I don't have to worry about it. That's coming to a boil. Now, plantains. I love plantains. We're gonna make some plantain chips with an avocado dip. So I'm excited about that. Cheese is melting. So, yeah, we got an affiliate. So super excited about that. I don't need that anymore. Somebody did something. Oh, thank you, Bill. But thanks, James. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I do. You have no idea how happy that makes me. And now you can see that the cheese that I put in there is now starting to react to the heavy cream and that little bit of roux that I still had in there. So, and if we're taking like a straight generic bechamel, then we won't use that heavy cream as much as we start to thin it out with water, or I'm sorry, milk. So we use whole milk, but I like the thickness, because remember we're making a cheese sauce. So macaroni and cheese it's technically a sauce that has cheese in it, but it's not like a nice ooey gooey cheese sauce that you would get on top of like cooked broccoli or asparagus. So it's gonna be a little thicker, but we're probably gonna cut this down once this last piece of cheese melts so that it pours over nicely. I left to order food and it's like 20 for one person. It's like 20. There's Five Guys. Yeah, I know. Five Guys is super expensive.
Because they put all that hate in their food.
Yes. That's why. The hate in the food. But remember, if Five Guys sponsors me, then everybody loves Five Guys. Because that's just the way it is. So, okay, the water that I have on the stove, if you look, the water I'm going to stick my broccoli in is starting to simmer. That's a hard simmer. I want it to come up to a boil. Because this trick only works if it comes to a boil. So as soon as that water comes to a boil, I'm going to take the broccoli, I'm going to dump it in the water, I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to take it off the heat. I'm going to leave it alone. That's all you have to do with a soft vegetable. So broccoli, asparagus, zucchini, squash, all your vegetables that are soft. And every time I refer to a vegetable, I'll refer to it whether it's hard or soft. This is the way you cook a soft vegetable, and it's cooked perfectly every single time. So you bring your pot to a boil, and then you're going to take your soft vegetable, and you're going to dump it in the water. You're going to shut off the heat. And because I have an electric stove, we're going to take it off the heat and set it to the side. And then we forget about it. It's done. It will cook itself because the energy that's in the water, the molecules that are flying around inside the water, will permeate the broccoli. It won't overcook the top part, but it will permeate the stem and cook them perfectly. And by the time the water dissipates all of its energy, the broccoli's cooked, and it won't overcook because there's no more energy left in the water to make the broccoli any more cooked than what it is. So our water is officially at a boil. So we're going to take our broccoli. I hope I put enough water in there. We're going to put our broccoli in there. And you want to cover all the broccoli. So you want water to be on top of all the broccoli. Let me get it here. I'll push my broccoli down to make sure it stays under water. Hand's a little goofy. Okay. We're going to take a lid. We're going to cover it. Then we're going to take it off the heat. And we're going to set it aside. Cheese sauce back over here. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do to cook a soft vegetable. That will sit there, and like I said, the energy from the water, which is the molecules flying around and creating heat, gets inside there, and by the time it wears itself out trying to reheat that broccoli, because I just basically threw room temperature, actually cold because it was in the sink. So by the time that boiling water dissipates all of its heat, it cooks the broccoli perfectly. That's what you do with a soft vegetable. Now, a hard vegetable, you do the exact same thing. The only difference is when you pour the vegetable into the boiling water, wait for the water to come back up to a boil, and then shut it off and cover it and put it on the side. That's the only difference between a hard vegetable like carrots and bell pepper. If you want it cooked perfectly, that's how you cook it. And what did I do yesterday? Cauliflower I did yesterday. So that's the difference between a hard vegetable and a soft vegetable. And that pretty much covers all the vegetables that you need to cook. So if you want nice steamed vegetables, you could do them in a steamer. But I find that when you do that, everything that's good about broccoli tends to fall down into the water. So I like this method because I don't have to worry about it. Even a steamer, if you don't pay attention to it, you can over steam your vegetables and they'll turn to mush. This way I can do it and then pay attention to everything else because frankly it's doing all the work for me. It's just sitting on the back of the stove right now cooking itself. So we're going to check our cheese sauce. That's off. Yeah. Handle got hot for some reason. So our cheese sauce is doing good. I don't know why my handle got so warm. I'm gonna take that and move over here. See, I still got cheese in there, but it's just about melted, the cheese. And again, I use the same technique for the cheese sauce. I let all the heat that was in the cheese, or in the milk, melt the cheese. So, some nice creamy sauce. Again, I still got a little bit of cheese left to melt. But there's so much energy right now in that hot milk, or hot heavy cream, that I'll just leave it alone and it'll let it do its work. So, all right, now let us start with our beets. Turn up the beets. We're gonna hold on the plantains. Now, beets, unless you have gloves on, they're gonna make your cutting board red, they're gonna make your hands red, they're gonna make everything red. So, we're gonna take and cut the cap off. And then now you can actually use a peeler on these, or you can use a paring knife. Either way. If we use a peeler, it's going to keep it off our hands. Whenever you purchase beets at the grocery store, you want to make sure size doesn't really affect the texture or the flavor as far as beets are concerned. So, but you want to make sure that this part of the beet right here, this bottom part, isn't moldy or excessively wet. Because if this is spongy or soft and it's got like that white mold on it, then oh my god, it's slop. I don't know what that means. The food is not ready that good for what we paid for it. Huh?
They're just talking about Five Guys.
Oh, Five Guys. I'm sorry. I didn't read the whole conversation. So you want to make sure that your beet is nice and firm. It's not spongy, because beets, if you get an older beet, they'll be spongy. So they should be hard like a rock. But if there's a little give to them, those have just sat there longer. And once you get them home, the beet has about probably 4 days worth of lifetime in it. You can stick it in the refrigerator, but that doesn't really solve it getting spongy. It just, once it leaves the ground, it immediately starts to basically ripen. So check your beets, make sure that they're nice and solid and that they're not smushy. I'm trying to peel this because I don't want, well, I'm just gonna have red hands. Gonna have some beet hands. So I'm gonna peel it, Now, a beet is naturally bitter. A lot of people don't like beets. And a lot of people don't like beets because most people use those canned beets. And actually what they used to do with these beets is they used to use them to dye cloth, like the ancient Romans and Egyptians would use beet juice to dye their material for the fancy people, for their clothes. So it gets on everything and it stains everything. If you rinse it off right away, then you can avoid it getting your hands completely dark red. Let's check our cheese sauce. Good, good, good. Right about where I want it. I'm going to thin that out a little bit with milk when we go to serve it. So, same thing that we do every time. Right now, this beet is not a stable vegetable, so you really don't want to go to the cutting board, please. So you really don't want to start cutting on this if it's all loose like this, because you don't want to, that's how knife accidents happen. So our one unsafe cut is we're going to take the tip of the blade. Remember, we want to get that to the cutting board as fast as we can. So we're going to cut our beet in half, just like that. And then we're going to set the beet flat part on the table. See, now we got a nice sturdy surface to work with. And then we're just going to half moon these beets. So just like all the other vegetables, we take our knife and we go in, we touch the cutting board with our knife, and then we pull back. Okay? So, and by me looking over top of the beet, I can see how thick I want these beets to be. And beans, we're going to basically saute them. I'm going to make them thin, just so it doesn't take forever for these beets to get soft. Because basically, the water and the flavor that's inside these beets, we have to manipulate to get them to not be so beet flavored. Because beets are, personally, I like the flavor of beets, but ultimately most people don't, and that's ultimately because a lot of people have canned beets. So you have to, whenever if I'm going to take beets, because beets are just like anything else, a carrot or anything like that. There's bitter ones and there's sweet ones. So I take a little piece of the raw beet and I eat it. Right now, it's actually a really good beet. I'm surprised. Because usually they're bitter. Same thing with turnips. It's the same way. So we go into it, pull, into it. I'm using this finger right here as my guide. So I'm putting it like this, and I'm putting the knife against it, and I'm going down and through. I'm not doing this because I like my fingernails. I'm doing that, and I push it out. So I go like this, pull through, this, pull through. It's the same motion. All you're doing is once you get that skill down, then you can increase your speed. But skill comes first, then speed. If you try and go fast and you don't have a good, consistent stroke, you end up not getting to the cutting board in time, and you end up pulling it right through your finger, and that's how you cut yourself. So I'm going super slow to demonstrate that it doesn't matter if it's a carrot, or if it's a beet, or a turnip, or any other vegetable, it's the same knife stroke. Okay, there, my 2 beets are cut up. Okay, they're beautiful. I'm gonna save my other beet. Now I'm gonna wash my hands right away to get that red beet juice off of me. Okay, now what we're gonna do to basically enhance the flavor of the beet is we're gonna take it, actually it's not done yet. We're gonna take a pot, we're gonna fill it with water. Now a beet is a hard vegetable, okay? So we're going to do the exact same thing we did with the broccoli, but we're going to treat this beet as a hard vegetable. So we're going to fill a pot. We could use the same water we have with the broccoli, but right now the broccoli's cooking, so I'm just going to leave it in there. So we're going to fill this water. And I like to do the beets separately because they will turn this water bright red, and then every other vegetable you put in after that will just turn beet color. So push our broccoli aside, put our water on, put it on high on this side. So, on to the next. We got our beets cut up. We're gonna put them in a bowl, set them aside, wait for our water to come to a boil. And I don't use my beets pieces into my vegetable broth because it turns everything red. So I try and avoid putting my beets into my stock. So there's so much more to talk about when it comes to vegetables. So if you guys have any questions, or if I'm doing something weird, or I'm not explaining something, please let me know. So we're going to go on to our turnip. Now, turnips are notoriously a bitter vegetable. They just are. So to do the turnip correctly, again, we're going to use a paring knife, and I'm going to peel them with a peeler, keeping it on as much of the table as I can. Little strokes. I don't like peeling stuff in the air because one, it flies stuff everywhere. But I like to have control over my vegetables. So when I hold on the table, it's not going to go anywhere. So, turnip, and we have to not put this, because instantly when those beets touch these turnips, they're going to turn these turnips red. So we've got to treat them as mortal enemies until the last second when we toss it together. So we're taking our turnips. And again, just like everything else, just like whenever you cook a protein or you taste it to make sure the adjustment that you want to make. You may have to add a little bit of sugar, you may want to add a little bit of salt. It just really depends on how the turnip was raised and how much sweetness you get out of this turnip. So,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my underground.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That is a follow from Josh. Thank you. What turns the turnips red? The top part of the turnip, that's where it sits out of the ground. Is that what you're talking about, the top part? Or are you talking about whenever you add it to a beet? Because it'll turn red if you put it in, because we're doing a turnip and we're doing a beet, because we're doing turn up the beets. It's topical. The kids like it. So I thought we would turn up the beets. Get it? We're turning up the beets. Come on, guys. Help me out. Turn up the beets. Come on, guys. All the kids at the grocery store laugh when I tell them that joke. Okay, so turnip is the same way. Go to the cutting board, please. Turnip is the same way. Tech.
Yeah.
Can I have the cutting board, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to do the same thing. It's not stable. We don't want to cut this because that's how you end up cutting your hand. So we're going to half moon this. Just cut it straight down through the middle like that. And then we're going to turn it on its flat side. And again, we're using the cutting blade of the knife, which is right here. This is the slicing part. This is the cutting part. This is the chopping part. So we're using the slicing part. We're going into it. And then you can either do this, which will use this blade right here. So you're doing this as the turnip goes through. Or you push it in. I'm sorry, I was wrong before. You use the slicing blade, pull it back through. So you're pushing it through and you're pulling it. That's how you use a knife. You get it to the table, and then you either go like this and you chop, or I'm sorry, you slice. Oh, I got all my terms messed up. Or, no, you cut. Oh, what am I, drunk? Turn up the beets. His dog's new record. Yes. So, we're pushing in, and then we're slicing back through the turnip, pushing in. See how we cut a little bit into the turnip when we push in, but the job is to get the tip of the knife to the cutting board. And then we pull back through, push, pull back through, push, pull back through. We're looking for consistency in size. We want the turnip pieces to be the exact same size in thickness, because that's what matters. If you get a really thick piece and you get a really thin piece, they're going to cook differently. So we're pushing, slice, pushing, slice. See how it's the same motion. every time. Push in, touch the cutting board, draw back through on the cutting board. The more the knife stays on the cutting board, the safer the knife is, because it gives you point of contact and it gives you control. So you want to make sure that there's my turnips. Now we're probably going to do the hard vegetable on the turnip first, because I don't want it to turn pink whenever I do the beets. So we're going to turn up, and then we're going to beets. So we're going to turn up the beets.
Nice.
No, I don't, Josh. No, I don't cook mainly vegan or vegetarian. This is our vegetarian week. So I'm basically dealing with vegetables as side dishes, but they can also be used as a main course. But I kind of want to go over vegetables, and then we're going to go over pastas and grains. And then we're going to start with, last week we did our mother sauces. So this is our vegetable week. And then next week, pasta and grains. And then the week after, we'll start our proteins with flying animals, and then we'll go to ground animals, and then we'll go to seafood or everything that swims in the sea. So that's kind of our plan. That's what we're working at. Is I want to give everybody a broad perspective of food. I don't want to just cook recipes. I want to introduce different cooking techniques for the different types of food, so that it simplifies the way the food is treated and the way it's cooked. Because a lot of the times you'll go in and you will see a recipe, or you'll go look up a recipe, and then you're kind of a victim to somebody else's ideas, and you don't know why stuff is happening. So I really am, I'm a big proponent of teaching people why things do what they do. So our turnips are done, so we can turn up the beets. Love that joke. And because the beets are sweeter than the turnips, and the turnips have acidity to them, whenever we cook the turnips, because remember, this is a hard vegetable, and this guy's a hard vegetable too. So we have two hard vegetables. We did our broccoli, which was a soft vegetable. So all we do to this, differently from the broccoli, is we take our hard vegetable. Our water is not boiling yet. As soon as our water gets boiling, we dump our hard vegetable in there. Then we wait for it to come back up to a hard boil. That's the only difference. A soft vegetable, when it comes to a boil, you put the vegetable in, cover it, and take it off the heat, and then leave it alone. It takes about a half an hour. A hard vegetable, you put the vegetable in the boiling water, bring the boiling water back up to a hard boil, cover it, and take it off the heat. So there's only one difference between a soft vegetable and a hard vegetable. Hard vegetables are your beets, your turnips, your red bell pepper, your carrots. Those are all hard vegetables. So all you do is add that extra added step to wherever it comes back up to a boil. Then you cover it and take it off the heat. Otherwise, it cooks the same. So whenever it's done, you're going to pull it out of the pan. The broccoli that I put in as a soft vegetable will be cooked perfectly. And because I'm dissipating the heat of the molecules inside the water, they're basically expending their energy to try and warm up that broccoli to the temperature so it neutrals. Remember, nature hates imbalance. So if something's really hot, it'll immediately go into something that's not the same temperature and try and warm it up, but that creates energy. It's the same thing whenever you burn calories. So it's sitting there creating energy to try and wake up the water molecules that are in that product. Okay, The Realistic Chef, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. I hope you got something out of it. I do. You have a good night. So whenever you get the vegetable, hard vegetable is just harder for that water to permeate the inside of the vegetable. So if you look at it that way, all you have to do is add that extra step, which is just bring it back to a boil. So right now my water's boiling. I'm gonna start with my turnips. I'll dump those in there. And now I don't have a lid, so I'm gonna use my foam pan to cover it. Oh wait, I gotta bring it back up to a boil. See, already lied. So now I'm just waiting for this to come back up to a boil. Because the minute you dump something cold into there, it's going to start the boiling part will stop, because immediately you've introduced a colder product to it. So now you've sapped the energy. It's the same thing whenever you fry something. If you keep putting something into frying oil, it sits there and saps out all the energy, and it gets colder and colder. The water's doing the same thing. Now the water's got to re-energize itself to bring it back up to a boil. So while it's doing that, it's fighting that turnip in there, just start to warm it up. So as soon as it comes back up to boil, all you gotta do is shut it off, cover it, set it aside, and it will cook perfectly. And that's the beets, that's the turnips, that's everything. And if it's a thicker cut, just remember it's gonna take longer for that water to come back up to a boil. Just hard boil it, throw in the vegetable. If it's a soft vegetable, cover it, take it off the heat. If it's a hard vegetable, let it come back up to a boil, take it off, cover it, and wait. And they'll cook themselves perfectly. They don't overcook because there's no more energy left in the water to cook them. And if they sit there for half an hour in warm water, they'll come out and they'll still be hot because they're basically, there's just not enough energy to cook them anymore. So, same thing with zucchini, same thing with squash. They're both soft vegetables. So, we're going to take our zucchini and our squash. Remember, right now we're dealing with everything. I never usually boil veggies because I destroy them. See, Josh, this is a way of doing it, and you can't, this is something that you can't wreck. There's no way to destroy these because there's no more energy left in the water to overboil them. So this is a stopgap. This is the biggest thing that a lot of people, whenever I go into their homes and I teach them how to cook vegetables, this is the easiest way to do it because, as you see, I did this to the broccoli, and then you look at my turnips. Okay, my turnips are back to a boil. So I wish I had a pan lid, but I don't. So I'm going to shut that off. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to slide it off the heat. This one I'm going to have to take somewhere else because I don't have any more room on the stove. I'm going to set it back here, covered with a frying pan, because that's what I had to use because I can't find my lid. So it's a way of doing it, and it ensures that the vegetable gets cooked properly every single time. So remember, we split the stem of the broccoli because it's too thick. Because if you try and cook that broccoli stem, the top part, the floret, the flour, will completely just obliterate itself. It'll just dissolve. So by splitting that stem down, then you're equaling out the amount of energy that the water has to permeate through the product. So you just split those down. Now, zucchini and squash is a soft vegetable. So, again, go to the cutting board. Again, they roll around, and remember, it's safety when it comes to a knife. Now, you can technically hold this, and you can sit here and slice it. But for today, because we're basically going to make a toss with this with a little bit of fresh herbs, a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil. So I'm going to do a half moon on these, and it's the safest way to do it. I'm going to leave my stem, the top part, I'm going to leave intact, and I'm going to hold it like this, and I'll push the knife to the cutting board, and then I'm going to start to slice, and whenever I get my chopping blade past the edge of my zucchini, I'm just going to go straight down, okay? So I take it, hold it like this, I put the knife in between, I start to slice until my chopping blade clears the back, and I go straight down. Now you can pull it all the way through, but again, it's just more wrist action. If you're doing a lot of these, you've got to learn how to shore up your cuts so that you don't wear out your wrist. So now they're nice and safe to cut. See, they're on the ground, they're flat, they're not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to take off the top part. There, slice, okay? So now that I've got my body at an angle to the cutting board, I've got my knife and I'm looking over the top of my knife to see the side that I'm cutting with. I can sit here and I can cut, pull through. This is a slice cut. Slice, and then I can get the exact same size every time. To the cutting board for safety, and then you draw it back through the product. See that? It's the same every time. And that's all we're trying to do is aim to get identically shaped pieces of vegetable, because if one's thick and one's thin, one doesn't cook and the other one overcooks. See? So we got a nice even, and then we take our little cap off. So we got nice even cuts of our zucchini, and the same thing with the squash. Take the squash, we're going to go to the cutting board, then we're going to pull through. Okay? I do it again. Push, pull through, push, pull through. That's all we're doing. It's the same cut. It's the same cut you use for cutting carrots. The only difference is on a carrot, because of the thickness of it and because it's a little bit harder, you start to want to use your slicing blade or your cutting blade. This one's more of a slice because you're using the tip of your knife, which is this part right here. So you're pushing in, you're pulling back, pushing in, pulling back. And you're just aiming to have the same size piece of vegetable. And remember, skill comes first, speed comes later. So you always want to work on your skill. And because these both are soft vegetables, they get cooked the same way that broccoli does. Bring the water to a boil, throw them in there, cover it, and take it off the heat and leave them alone. And in a half an hour, they're cooked perfectly. And there's no more energy left in the water to overcook it. So we're going to take our our zucchini and our squash. We're going to not fit it all in this bowl because I didn't get a bowl that's big enough because I'm insane. So we're going to cook that too. Check our sauce. Our sauce, because it's cooling down a little bit, has thickened, but it looks good right now. Once we add our our roux back to it, we're going to add a little bit of milk, and then I think we're right there perfectly with that. Okay, so plantains. Now, plantains, I usually do the same thing, cut to the cutting board, pull it back, and then if they're woodier than normal, you can peel them like a banana, like this. It takes a little bit longer, and you can also peel them with a peeler, and you can also peel them with a knife. But you're basically trying to remove the skin from around the actual plantain. You can also use, like I said, you can use a paring knife, but you got to make sure you get that outside edge off the plantain. Just like a banana, but sometimes if they're a little bit, because usually a ripe plantain is black. So these, I like these to make chips out of because it has a little bit of the fiber left. So I put my knife in between the skin and the actual plantain. Spoon works well to get off the skin. Yeah, if it's not to this condition, because these are a little bit firm, but yeah, on a more ripe plantain, yes, a spoon works great. Same thing with like taking the skin off from the outside of avocado. Same thing, and also a what's that fruit called? Help me out. Mango. Same thing. You can scoop out a mango out of the same thing like you do an avocado. And these are a little bit still underripe, and that's what I like to make chips out of. I'm gonna throw that away. Now, whenever you make, because we're making plantain chips, you basically fry them and then you serve them. If they sit in their oil, or if you fry them off and you expect them to hold up, they tend not to. They tend to get gummy and greasy. So this is a fry and serve type dish. So once we get our plantain set out, we're going to add a little bit of salt to them to help flavor the water that's inside the plantain by using osmosis. So you can double fry a plantain, but remember, every time you stick that plantain in the water or in the oil, you're basically changing the flavor, and the more oil that it's exposed. I like to do it once and get them out because I don't like that oil permeating the flavor, because I really like a flavorful plantain. Yes, you can refry them in a pinch, like if you're like Because a lot of people, like, if you serve this in a restaurant, you can constantly sit there and just have a plantain guy that constantly fries plantains. But if you're serving a small group, you can usually get them in and out in one fry. But yeah, you can put them back in, but just every time you do it. Right, and that's what we're gonna take. We're gonna smash them, and then we're gonna fry them. And that's another method you use. You can fry them, and then smash them, and then fry them again. Which I think, depending on how ornery uncooked these are, or how ornery unripe these are, you may have to do that. We will see what happens when we smash one. But yes, that is usually how it's done. It's usually fried. It's usually cut, fried, smashed, and then refried. Breadfruit chips like that are my favorite. Yes, I love plantain chips, and most people don't. You know, they don't take the time to. Same thing, cutting board. Now these I want a little thicker because I want a little bit bigger chip. Let's see what happens. Oh, there's my lid. Found my lid. I usually use the bottom of the frying pan. Could use a smaller frying pan, and I will, because I have one. So I don't want to smack it. I want to put it on top, and I want to push down with my hand. Because if you just sit there and slap it, it tends to, you can't gauge how thick it's going to be in the end. But that's basically what I'm looking for, is a nice squished plantain. So we're going to take, what I like to do, because I don't know exactly consistency of this plantain, I'm going to fry one off real quick, and then we're going to determine what we're going to do with it. Because, like Josh said, we may have to fry them first, depending on how these turn out. So let's see what that does. Because I think these will work fine. And I just don't like a lot of fry on my plantains, so we're going to see what this one does first. That works well. I use can of beans. Yeah, that's true. Can of beans has a little bit of weight to it too, so you're not using all your force to smash down on it. Broccoli looks good. I can't look at my turnips, but I bet they look good. Okay, so we're bringing up our oil to fry our plantains with. So, while we're waiting on that, we'll work on our red onion. Waiting on our oil to come up for our plantains. Try the single fried, less frying is good. I'll try them that way next time. Yeah, and it really depends on the ripeness of the plantain. Because overly ripe, not the actual all the way to the right where they're black, but those green to yellow plantains, like the yellow ones, that's where you get now. Because the green ones, it's just easier to peel them, fry them, smash them, fry them again. But when they get yellow and they start to spot out and they start to turn black, it's a judgment call. So I usually like to put one together, fry it, and see how it holds up. Because double frying a ripe to or almost ripe to ripe plantain, it usually just takes away, because whenever you take it out of the frying pan, you go to smash it, it just goes paper thin. It sticks to the bottom of your pan. So it's kind of a judgment thing, and that's what I'm waiting for, is to see where this fries. If it fries enough to where we can double fry it, then I completely agree. But it's about the ripeness of the plantain. So that's what we're waiting on that. Let's make our avocado. Same thing, go to the cutting board. Once you turn your oil, will take until they go black, so they are sweet. Never single fry was an option. Never do single fry. Absolutely. Yeah, because once they turn yellow, I wait till they go black, so they are sweet. Yeah, they never do single fry was an option. Absolutely. And it's just about if it holds up in the oil. If I can fry this in the oil and it cooks all the way through and it's nice and creamy, I feel like the less time it spends in oil, the better flavor I'm getting. So, matter of fact, I'll usually take my plantain, I'll put a little bit of salt on it so that it creates that osmosis and starts to draw the water out of the plantain, and it replaces it with that heavier molecule of salt water, so it flavors the inside of the plantain without any work. So I'm gonna take my onion. Remember, I wanna get safe, so I'm gonna cut this in part off, throw it away, put it on its safety side so it's not moving anywhere. I'm gonna split the onion down. And now I'm going to use my chopping blade, so I'm going to go all the way through so I can chop it. Then I'm going to take the outer skin off my onion, the part that I don't use, and I can throw in my stock pot. And I love red onions. Oh, they smell so good. Now, the reason that you cry whenever you cut up onions is because the onion has a self-defense mechanism because it doesn't want to be eaten. My oil's done, I can smell it. There it is. So we're going to drop our plantain into our oil to see where we are with our oil. Love it. Turn that oil down a little bit hyper. Now it's not going to take long for this plantain to cook, because realistically, and why it bubbles like this is the water that's inside the plantain is actually just basically boiling the water out of the plantain. That's why when you stick something in oil, and whenever it boils like that or it flares up, all it is the water inside the product. These are pretty good. I like that. Turn that down. I think that's a little bit too hot. Our plantain. We're gonna take it, go to the cutting board. Jesse.
Cutting board, no bad.
So we're gonna cut it. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that, nice. It actually has, because I really didn't let it soak in the oil, it has a nice firm texture to it. I'm getting I need a fire pit on the side of my smoker, Josh, and so I've got to get one that will, because I've got to do I'm going to do barbecue from around the world. So for like your South American barbecue or your Texas barbecue, you have to have indirect heat. So I have to have a pit that has a firebox on it, and the one that I'm looking at. Oh, yeah. Then I can't wait, because we're gonna do barbecue from all over the world. So we're gonna do Asian barbecue, we're gonna do South American barbecue, then the different regions of America where all those barbecues are, like Tennessee and Texas, and what I know, I'm super excited. Then we're getting into barbecue sauces, and I'm elated. I cannot wait. But my smoker, I can't handle what I'm gonna put that through, because that's just constant. Because a brisket takes 14 hours to cook. And the firebox isn't big enough, it won't maintain that 225 degrees. So, I've got to upgrade my smoker. Yeah, I know. There's nothing diet about barbecue. There just isn't. But I love that plantain. It's firm. It actually tastes like a plantain. Which usually if you overcook that, or if it's too soft and you fry it, that oil will start soaking into the plantain, and then you don't get that nice creamy center, and it doesn't taste like a plantain anymore. It tastes like oil and salt. But I'm going to give this to my tech who's falling asleep back there.
I'm falling asleep, I promise.
I promise, man.
Just in pain.
Justin Bieber. That's plantain.
I don't think I've ever had a plantain.
Well, you're about to have plantain. See?
Looks good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's got that hint of sweet, and that's the thing, is if you sit in the oil for too long, that sweetness gets replaced with that oil flavor. So I usually take my plantains, smash them out, add a little salt, let them sit there while my oil warms up, and then I will fry them off. And you notice I only had it in the fryer for what, 35 seconds maybe? So right now I'm cutting up an onion. I'm doing the same cut that I do every single time I cut any vegetable. Taking the tip of the knife and I'm getting it to the cutting board. Okay, I'm reaching the cutting board and then I'm pulling out. Now I can do that and I can do that, but right now we're just slicing. So we're going to the cutting board and we're pulling out. Okay, it's the same cut. And then we're gonna come this side and we're gonna cut straight down and then we're gonna cut. And we're using our slicing blade to get to the cutting board. And then we're cutting with our cutting blade, which is in the middle. So, and I'm looking over the knife and my body's at an angle to the cutting board. So safety first, we get to the cutting board, then we go down. And as we're going to the cutting board, we're still cutting into our onion. Right there, I'm at the cutting board. So I'm already started to go into my onion. Cut. Cut. And this is for the avocado dip for the plantains. See? To the cutting board, then down. To the cutting board, then down. Nice, even chunks. Now, let's say you're chopping up your onion and you're like, that's too chunky for what I'm making. You're going to use your chopping blade, which is the back of your chef knife. Again, we're holding it to the table and we're just rocking it forward as we're cutting through the vegetables. Same cut. These are all the exact same cuts. The only difference is this one's just closer to the table. See that? I'm rocking the knife using the chopping blade to chop up my onions. So I'm using the back of the knife as my chopping blade because that's the closest part to your wrist and that carries the most weight. So the three different sides to your knife, the three different blades of your knife are your slicing, your cutting, and your chopping. And use them accordingly for the task. And that's why chef knives are so universal, is because it has three different blades on it. It's not just one. So use the proper blade for the task you're doing. If you're slicing, you use the tip of the knife. That's your slicing point. That's why it comes to a point. That's why it comes to a point. That's your slicing blade. That's your cutting blade. That's where you do all your work. So your cutting blade's a forward motion. The chopping blade, remember the tip of the knife touches the cutting board first. Okay, here we go. So I'm using the back of the knife to chop up my onions because I want a finer grade onion. Now if you really aren't comfortable with your knife skills and you don't want to sit here and do this, I suggest you do it so you can practice your chopping and your cutting skills. But if you just absolutely are petrified of a knife, then use a grater, like a potato grater, the square box graters, and just grate your onion down the side of that knife. And then set it on some paper towel or in a strainer so that the onion juice comes off of it. So this onion will give off a gas that makes you cry whenever you cut it. And all that gas is it's trying to protect itself from being chopped up. So I've kind of gained an immunity to onions. I don't cry when I cut up onions. And it's just because I've cut so many of them. Years and years and years of chopping onions. Like bags, 50-pound bags of onions. So I've kind of got a little bit of a cheat when it comes to that. So I got I'm going to get a bigger bowl of that. So I got my onion. Now, here's my bowl. Got my onion. So I'm going to put my onion in my bowl. Tear ducts. Or burn out. I know. I don't cry. I only cry at sad movies. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I pretty much wrecked them. But it's like, it just, one day I would cry when I cut an onion, then it just stopped. So, we got our onion chopped up. Now, we're going to take our jalapeno. Now, all the heat in jalapeno is in the rib on the inside and the seed. So if you can de-rib it and de-seed it, then you're going to get a lot less heat into your product. And also what you can do is cut it. You can cut it in half, because remember, we want to deal with a safety. So the same thing as the zucchini and squash, we go down till we get to the end and we chop. Keep your knife in the same place. So all of our heat comes out of here. Now, what you can do is you can take this, you can split it like this, and if you put it on a barbecue grill or on a grill or on an open flame on your stove and let heat get to the ribs and to the seeds, it will gas it out. It will start taking a lot of that heat out of the jalapeno because it's basically doing the same thing as an onion does. It stores this all in here, and all the heat's in here. Is if you take all this out and you use the outside, it's about like a spicy bell pepper. But if you leave any of this rib in there or seed in there, that just exponentially increases the Scoville rating, which is the amount of heat that a jalapeno gives off. So if you just don't like a lot of heat in your jalapeno, and you don't want to sit there, because once you start cutting this up and gets it on your hands, you can't touch your face. So you just take it on a grill and you set it on top of there under warm heat, and it will gas out and it will caramelize the sugars that are inside the skin, and in the seed it will make it sweeter. It just takes that burn heat out of it and gives you a nice sweet heat. But I'm not worried about it today. I'm actually going to shell it for you. So all I do to do that is I cut the top part of it off, and then I'm going to take my chef knife and I'm going to lay it and I'm pushing down against the jalapeno, and I'm going to start cutting this way just till I cut that out. Okay, that's what I want to do. So I cut that top part off. You can do the same thing with a bell pepper. I'm going to lay that down. I'll push my chef knife down against it, and I'm going to start cutting until I cut through it. Take that out. Okay. That's how I seed my jalapeno. Get the rib out. Now, if you're really like, I just don't like heat. Oh, thank you, Plucky. Oh, shoot. Thank you so much. Plucky just hosted me. Yeah, thank you, Plux. Appreciate it. So, to get the rest of that remaining rib out of there, we do the same thing we did earlier. We just take it and we sit there and saw to get that rib out. Be careful because you are sawing towards your hand, but you can do it this way too if you feel more comfortable coming across. Made it home. Stream looks great. Thanks, Plucky. I appreciate it. Same thing. Crossed. Taking out all the heat out of the jalapeno. You can still fry this. Actually, what we're going to do with our jalapeno, because remember, this is basically, we're making the avocado dip for the plantain chips. So just like before, we're going to chop, knives on the, now you don't, whenever you do that, if you notice, the knife isn't leaving the table. It's like a sewing machine motion. We're just doing that repetitively, and we're moving the knife slowly down the jalapeno, and you can do the same thing with bell pepper. You can do this, it's the same knife cut. The majority of the knife cuts that you use with a chef knife are identical. See right there? You're using a slicing blade. It's like a sewing machine. Knives never leaving the cutting board. It's repetitive. Same stroke, same size, every time. Then we're going to sit there and we're going to chop it up a little bit. Push it together. Chop it up a little bit. Push it together. Chop it up a little bit. So, we got 3 dishes going on right now in the background. We've got we're going to fry off some plantains. We've got some turnips going, and we've got some broccoli going. And then we just made a cheese sauce. So I'm going to try and get everything rolling together at the exact same time. So again, we're using the chopping side of the knife. I'm only holding it with 2 fingers because I don't want to use my wrist. I don't want to hold on to it with a death grip. These fingers back here are total finesse fingers. You're just using them to guide the knife. Most of the time, if you see, my pinky finger doesn't even get involved when it comes to cutting up something. So I'm chopping up the jalapeno. Now, take my jalapeno and throw it in with my onion. Now I got jalapeno and onion chopped up. Then I'm going to take me some garlic. And now you can use the back of a knife blade and do this and smack it But I had a gentleman working for me in a kitchen, and he was all excited because he finally got to do this. And when he did it, the knife was sitting like this. It actually had fallen off the garlic, and he went like this. And needless to say, stitches later. So that always scares me when people are like, "Hi-ya!" and smash the living crap out of it. So if you put your knife blade against the table and you hold it like this, like then you can sit there. You don't have to. It doesn't take much to take the skin off of a garlic, so you don't have to come up from Brooklyn to smash the living crap out of the garlic to get it to peel. Yeah, you can just sit there and gently put your hand on it, push down a little bit. Unless you have like unsettled anger issues, that's it. Okay, so you don't have to go bananas and beat the living. And also remember, garlic, just like an onion, on the inside of it is where all the good flavor is. That's why you don't buy pre-chopped garlic, because once that's cut open, the flavor and the gas and everything start to leave it. So the less damage you do to this before you're going to use it, the better. So don't beat the living crap out of your garlic. Be nice to it. Garlic is your friend. Because remember, garlic, if you overcook it or if you abuse it, will turn bitter. So I'm using the same technique I did with the onion. I'm using the same technique I'm using with the garlic and the jalapeno. Sitting the knife, putting the knife on the cutting board, and I'm just going to go into it. Just like that. I'm looking over top of the knife. The knife is at an angle, just like my body, to the cutting board. You've got to maintain technique when it comes to using a knife. And in the kitchen, it creates less wear and tear on your blade. It creates less stress on your body. So whenever you're doing it, you can do it longer. And by the time you're done, if you have to chop up a bunch of stuff, you're not going to wear out your wrist or your back. So I'm using my chopping blade, taking it off. And what you try and avoid doing whenever you're chopping with the back of a knife is you're trying not to scrape the blade, because it has a rock. Because a chef knife, you see it rocks. So when it rocks, I just move the knife. This is my axis right here. Just off of the slicing blade and just before the chopping blade is where my knife moves around. Still on the table, never leaves the table, but I can move it anywhere I want because I'm using that as the axis. I think that's right. Okay, so I got my now we're gonna saute this off in a frying pan, and then we're gonna bloom our spices. But I don't want to do that to my garlic, because the minute you start to cook garlic, it turns bitter. And this takes a lot less time to actually sweat out than this does. So I'm going to start with this, and then I'm going to put my garlic in at the end, because I like that nice, strong garlic flavor. So we're going to take an empty pan, and we're going to bloom our spices. Now, later on, when we get into herbs and spices and we start going over all that, we're going to take and we're going to do a long, drawn-out explanation of the difference between herbs and spices, the difference between dry and fresh, how to store them, how to take care of your fresh herbs. But for today, I've got some cumin, because we're doing avocado, jalapeno, red onion, we're doing a fried plantain, so I got some cumin, and we're going to bloom it. Because the packages that you get, or the bottles of spices that you get in a grocery store, are usually old. So the only way you can actually bring out the true flavor and smell of a fresh herb or spice is to bloom it. So we take a dry pan and we sprinkle a little bit of whatever spice that we're going to use. This one just happens to be cumin. You should bloom all your spices, including your pepper. But for today, we're just using this. So we're going to put this on a stove, dry pan, on low heat. And all we want to do is bring the heat up gradually till we just smell it. The second we smell it, then it's bloomed. In other words, there's oil. Yes, you should. Absolutely. I mean, the Indian food, they do that all. That's what they do. Is they toast their whole herbs and they grind them, but what they're doing is they're bringing the oil from inside the herb and they're releasing it, they're pulling it out by heating it up. So it's basically like like a candle. It doesn't smell until you put heat to it, and the herbs are the same way. They're basically, the outside has expended all of its smell and flavor by the time you get to it. So the only way you can get that really rich flavor is to reheat it before you use it. So you should always bloom your dry spices before you use them. So, and remember, spices go in at the beginning, herbs go in at the end. So the first thing you should do when you start to cook something is you should bloom your spices. And it doesn't take much, just a little bit of heat. And you don't want it to smoke and you don't want it to brown. All you do is you want to start to smell it. And the minute you start to smell it, then it's ready to be used. So I'm just now starting to smell it. And every time you once you start blooming your spices, especially cumin, once you start blooming your spices and you go to a restaurant or you eat at someone's house and you taste cumin, you can taste the difference between a bloomed cumin and a raw cumin. It tastes like raw cumin. And a lot of people don't like food that's made with cumin in it because they're eating raw cumin and it's always got that bitter acid flavor to it. And cumin should be sweet and woody and romantic. It should have this amazing smell and flavor that you can only, like this whole kitchen is just starting to reek like cumin. And all I'm doing is I'm putting it to a medium-low heat and I'm just moving it around. And like I said, until I start to smell it. Which is pretty dang close right there. Oh, there it is, right there. So always bloom your dry spices, no matter what spice you're using, no matter what cooking or no matter what country you're cooking from. Always bloom your dry spices because it brings so much more flavor depth to what you're doing than if you just dump it in there into the food. So always bloom your dry spices before you use them. So now I'm gonna sprinkle a little of that in there. I'm gonna put about half of it in there for now because I want to be able to, if I need to use more, I can use more. Put it on the cutting board. Now I'm gonna take my pan that's still dry and I'm gonna dump my jalapeno and my onion in it. I need all of it in there though. Okay, so now I'm gonna lightly saute this because I want to start to bring the sugars out of the onion and I want to start to bring the sugars out of the jalapeno to just basically to bring out that flavor. Is it okay? Yes, you can bloom multiple spices together. As a matter of fact, usually whenever I start doing a dish, that's the first thing I do. Is I'll take my dry spices and I'll measure them out and then I'll bloom them all at the exact same time for one of the dishes. If it's multiple different spices on different food, obviously you'll have to blend them separately, but no, they can all go in at the exact same time. It makes such a difference in your food if you just take that one extra step and bloom that spice. So our garlic's still here, and immediately when I stuck it on there, the liquid from the onion, the water that's inside the onion, immediately started to make noise, and you can hear it already. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but my onion is already starting to make noise, which is great. And all I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to saute my onion. I just want to sweat it a little to basically intensify the flavor of the onion and the jalapeno. I want to bring that sugar out in that onion. Because raw onion tastes like raw onion. And every time you make anything to do with onion, you want to try and coax some of that sugar and you want it to condense, to caramelize out of the onion. So you want to just put a little heat to it. It's not going to hurt anything. Like I said, you're not frying it. It's going to mix with that cumin that I put in there. And it's going to start to bring that sugar out of that jalapeno. It's going to start to bring the sugar out of the onion. So we're going to let that sit alone for a little bit and let it do its thing. And remember what I said yesterday and the day before. Whenever you put something on the stove, on a stove top, there's three things. You want to listen to how it's cooking. So there's three things. There's basically a golf clap. So if you put something in oil or if you put something in a pan and it makes that golf clap sound, which is that mellow clap sound or that mellow sizzle, that's your bottom. You don't want to go below that. And if you're just trying to do like what I'm trying to do, which is just sweat those onions a little bit, that's a perfect sound. Now if it starts to get more quiet, then you got to kick up the heat a little bit. But that's your first stage. And then the second one is like sitcom laughter. This is the best way I can explain it. And as you get used to these 3 different sounds, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. Sitcom is nice for browning stuff to get the Maillard effect on things. It's that mid-range sound. So if you've got oil on the stove and you're like the other day we made chicken fried steaks, you want to put it in with that sitcom laugh. You don't want that roaring, where it sounds like a rock concert, which is the loudest one. That's for like steaks. You want to really sear the outside of something. When you stick it in there, it should sound like a rock concert cheer. So you want that sitcom cheer is kind of where you want to stay. And right now we're at that golf clap cheer, which I hope that makes sense, and I hope that everyone can kind of wrap their head around that, because otherwise, unless you do it and you hear it, I listen for those 3 types of sounds. And also, by doing this, we're going to soften up our onion a little bit, so when we eat it with the plantains, we're not getting that crunchy raw onion crunch or the raw onion flavor. So we're just trying to condense the water that's inside the onion and bring out a little bit of that sugars, the natural sugars, so that it's a little bit sweet. It smells amazing in here. It smells great. So let's go to our broccoli. So we got to finish our cheese sauce. Let's go to these guys, because they are done. So our garlic, let's put that aside. Let's put that in our bowl, because that's going to go right in. So now that our onions are about to the point that I want them, I'm going to take my garlic and I'm going to add that to it, because all we want that garlic to do is release its oil. We don't want it to cook, because garlic, once it cooks, it turns bitter. So all we're trying to do now is just let that garlic heat up a little bit. We're just trying to warm it through. So get my spatula, start warming up my garlic. And I usually do it like if I put onion in a potato salad or something like that. I like to saute it off like that with the spices, whichever I'm doing, just to kind of help that onion calm down a little bit. Because every time you bite into raw onion inside of something other than like a hamburger, or if you like really love onion, it tends to put people off because it's raw onion. So you want to bring a different texture, and you want to bring a different flavor to that onion so it enhances the dish. It doesn't just get in the way. So I'm trying to marry the flavors of the jalapeno and the onion and the garlic together, so that when I put it with the avocados, it's just got a nice, smooth, consistent all the way through from the minute you put it in your mouth to the minute it's gone. It has a nice, even tone all the way through it. I don't want, oh my God, there's raw onion surprise in the middle of what you're eating. That's about it. Oh, it smells so good. Shut that off. Let's move this around. So this is all I'm looking for my onion. They're a little bit translucent. Where should we go? Yeah. It's a little bit translucent. I think I do. I should have a Discord. I believe I do. We're kind of tech. We're not very good on the tech side of it. So I believe I have a Discord. If you look down in the bottom, I think there's a Discord. If not, I will get a Discord. But I believe I have one. I think I do. That's a good question, Josh. So my onions, they have this amazing smell. I can still smell the cumin. The garlic is just to the point where it starts to turn translucent and you can smell it. Remember, whenever you cook, you've got to use all your senses. That will determine doneness, like cookies. Cookies are great, breads are great. The minute you smell them, they're most likely done. It's the same thing with this. Once you smell it, you're, hi, this is Caitlin, love your stream, so informational and comprehensive. I really learned a bunch and said that we'll miss you tomorrow. Dinner plans, keep up great work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good, I'm glad that I'm on the right track. So wait a minute, what am I doing? I lost my dang mind. So here's our bowl. We're gonna dump our jalapeno, onion, cumin, into our bowl, and we're going to let it cool down because we don't want it to go into the. You can watch his videos on YouTube. Yes, you can. Videos are on YouTube. So we're going to let this cool down because we don't want to throw our avocado in there because we don't want to warm up our avocado. Because remember, we're making a dip, so we don't want to fight it. So we're just going to let this. We're going to set this back aside because that's basically all I'm doing to that is warming up the onion, the jalapeno. And the most important thing about food and cooking is address every issue of the food. Whether it be from the onion to the jalapeno to whatever it is you're doing, make sure that you address it individually. Because all food is and dishes are is taking all those individual ingredients and bringing them together to make one thing. If you don't address each individual item and try and bring out the most flavor from that item, you're kind of cheating yourself. And if you like blooming the spices for one, that makes a huge difference. Next time that you have the opportunity, if you really don't want to commit, just whenever right before you put anything in a pan, crack the pepper in there and bloom that pepper. You're going to find out what pepper really tastes like. And it's a completely different flavor. And that's why you get all the different types of peppercorns, like the white ones and the black ones and the red ones. They all have a distinct flavor. But the only way you can get that flavor out is to bloom them. Because there's not enough heat in your mouth, and there's not enough heat in the food, because once it touches the food, whatever fat is in that food surrounds that spice, and it won't let that oil come out. And you'll never get enough heat for it to expel that oil. So blooming the spices in the very beginning to bring out the maximum flavor is the best way that you can really punch up dishes with just a few different spices. That's just the way it is. It is. So our turnips, we're gonna put these over here because I believe they are done. Yep. Oh, that's perfect. These are the hard vegetables. Perfectly cooked. And because we let them sit in the water, we're not punching. It still has all the fiber and the vitamins and the nutrients that you get out of the vegetable. Is perfectly cooked. And all I did was just bring it back up to a boil again and shut it off. So I'm going to take my turnips out, which are delicious, by the way. I'm going to do the same thing to my beets. Because remember, we're turning up the beets. I'm a genius.
I'm rolling my eyes.
I know. Here, I'm going to let my tech guy who's falling asleep back there taste what a turnip tastes like cooked properly.
Still not falling asleep.
Here, eat that. Oop. That's a perfectly cooked turnip. So no need to miss tomorrow. That's right. We after we program everything, or after we stream everything, we immediately try and dump it within that day, or the next morning we'll dump it onto YouTube. We're also on YouTube, and we transfer all the videos over to YouTube and to the videos down below to Twitch. So if you're liking what you're seeing, go on over to YouTube and like our videos. Stay here and like our videos. I kind of ran out of bowl space, but all I'm doing is bringing the turnips out. And like I said, they're not bitter. And you notice I didn't add any salt. I didn't add any sugar. I didn't add anything. I just added boiled water and turnips, because remember, we want to maintain, if you don't like the flavor of a vegetable in its natural form, then don't try and cover it up with stuff that you do like. Just don't eat that vegetable. Because the true flavor of everything is what matters. That's really what you're trying to hunt after. It's like, if you don't like the flavor of meat, then don't eat meat. It's the same thing with vegetables. If you don't like the flavor of a good turnip cooked properly, well then, there's other vegetables out there. But if it's cooked properly, it's an amazing vegetable. It has no bitterness. It has very little flavor. It's delicate. It's a very delicate vegetable. And you can see by doing that, if you look, I think I can show you. Let me see. Where's my camera? Here's the table camera. Can I have the table camera? If you look, it's cooked translucent. So it's actually cooked to the point of being perfectly cooked. It's not falling apart. It still has texture. I can still pick it up. It's still one solid piece. But you look, it's translucent. See that? That's because the energy that the water expelled trying to basically affect the inside of this turnip, cooked it all the way through, and then the water burnt out. Blooming is so logical. I'm sitting here thinking, man, I've done this with curry. Why didn't I realize I should? Yeah, exactly, Josh. It should be done with every spice you have. Every single one of them. Because yeah, that's Indian food in a nutshell, is blooming or toasting. But it's really all they're doing is they're bringing the oil out of the vegetable or out of the spice. You should do that to all of your spices. So I'm going to take the same water, I'm going to put it back on the stove, bring it up to boil again, and then we're going to deal with our cheese sauce and finish a dish. And then we'll move on to our plantains once our avocados cool down. I hope that you guys are learning something. I hope that it may not be like entertaining, like I'm not dancing around or stuff like that, but there's so much information about food, and these simple little tricks will make your food completely different. This is the next stage. You can technically cook anything because all you're doing is controlling the water inside the product. You're just manipulating water cells. That's all you're doing. That's cooking. So everything else, the blooming of the spices and the little things like the way you cook vegetables and stuff like that, that's just learned knowledge that increases the ability for you to be able to be creative. I don't do recipes per se. When I do baking, I do recipes, but whenever it comes to cooking, I try and stick with the root enjoyment of doing it because I understand why things do what they do, and answering the why questions are more important than trying to figure out a recipe that may or may not fit your style, because it's somebody else's recipe, so it may or may not fit your idea of what you're doing. So I like that freedom of being able to understand how vegetables cook, because there's only hard and soft vegetables, and they both cook. Hard vegetables, all of them cook the exact same, and soft vegetables, all of them cook exactly the same. Once you tackle that, then the creativity's back in your hands. The control is back in your hands. So bloom your spices, understand what vegetable you're working with, and then once we get into the regions and the countries around the world, you can cook food from anywhere, because it doesn't matter. All the difference between region to region, let's say you want to cook something from a region in a country, go on the internet, look up that region, ask what the main spices and herbs they use in that region are. Bloom those spices and use them in that dish, and you are as close to cooking that dish as possible. Everything else is exactly the same. Chicken cooks to the exact temperature of done. You can't do anything else to it. Anything over that's overcooking it. So it doesn't matter how you cook the chicken. Once it's done, it's done. The only thing that you can do to change it is take it to a different region in a different country. So that pulls out all the guesswork on how to cook food from other countries. It's nothing special, because like I said, a chicken is a chicken no matter where you cook it from. So we're gonna work on our cheese sauce. It sat here, it's all gummed out now, so I had to bring my bechamel back. Cheese looks good. I'm gonna heat it up, and probably on 6 o'clock on the dial, so straight down. Taste it. Perfect. I love it. I gotta get it to my spatula. Once it starts to warm up, I'm gonna cut a little bit of milk into it. Not much. Just a little bit. Because I basically, with the roux that I left in the pan and the heavy cream, I really don't need a lot of roux to keep this thick. And remember, we're making a cheese sauce to go on top of the broccoli. So once this all warms back up, then it will smooth out and we'll have a nice, thick, creamy, milk fat filled cheese sauce to put on top of our broccoli. So I think that's it. All right, a little bit. Just a little bit. So bring that back up to heat, and then we're going to cut our plantains. Again, remember, we take our knife, we go into the plantain, and then we pull back. We're slicing, trying to equal out the same size pieces. Slice, slice, slice. And if you want a fatter chip on a plantain, like if you want a good sized chip, don't cut it really thick and try and smash it to that. Cut the plantain at an angle like this. Same thickness as the other ones, but now you have a bigger chip. You see that? That's the difference. Same thickness. Once I smash it, this one will just be bigger because I got it at a different cut angle. So that will help you to not smash, because I like a thick plantain. I don't like them smashed to the point where they look like potato chips, because I love the creaminess of the inside of a plantain, and that's what I'm trying to maintain, is that creamy, sweet flavor. And the longer it sits in the oil, the less flavor you get from that. So I'd avoid that with the plague as far as how long it goes in the oil. I want it in and out just till it turns soft. So there is my plantains. I'm going to take my pan. I'm going to take my first plantain. I'm going to set it down. I'm going to start pushing down. That's a good little guy right there. I'm going to clean up my cutting board. Push down. Just till you feel it smash. Oh, see, that one was too hard. That guy, I'm still going to fry him. I'm going to eat him. So if they are stiff like that, Josh brought up a good point earlier. You may want to cook them a little bit first, but I try to avoid that. As long as they hold together like that, they'll survive in the frying pan. It's that initial push. See, I don't like this frying pan. Hang on, I don't like it. Let me see if I can get that frying pan. The bottom of it is grated, so it makes it a little bit harder to push down on it because they're actually sticking to. Let's try something. Here's a little experiment. I know it's a bad idea, so I'm not going to do that. Immediately stop doing that. Let's see if this helps. Yeah, it actually worked. See, we're just smashing it to a good thickness. And actually, if you see, you can watch it do it. Here, let me see if I can get it over by the camera. You see that? We're just pushing down, then the plantain will slide to one side. Just like that. The minute it goes, that's all we're doing. Let's see, it's nice. Now the thicker one, like this one that we cut at a bias, probably is going to take good. I love it. These are just to the point where I think if we'd have fried them in the first, it would be easier. But like I said, I really don't like them to be in the, because that's perfect right there. It just takes a little bit more pressure to push down on them to get them to that point. I don't mind it. Now, what I'm actually doing is avoiding pushing down really hard. I'm trying to do it with finesse so I don't smash the living garbage out of them, because I want a certain thickness. So I'm just trying to bring it to that. These are creamy too. I love it. Okay. I think my water for my beets is boiling. Almost. The water in my beets is almost boiling. Let me stir my cream sauce. All I'm waiting is for that last little bit of cheese that didn't melt when I shut it off before to melt. And I'm not using a metal whisk in this pan because it's a non-stick pan. So I don't want to use a metal whisk in there. Continue on with our plantains. Because like I said, I'm trying to effectively maintain the delicate flavor of the plantain. So the least amount of time it spends in oil. Okay, I have to go. Thanks for all the great tips. I'll be watching the rest of this on YouTube. One thing you may want to check to see is if you can turn off autofocus on your camera. Okay, Yeah, and you're right. Apologize for that. Yeah. I knew that I got to find that setting. And I think whenever we set it up, we're like, we'll leave that on. But you're right, because it tries to constantly focus in and out. Thank you. Thank you for coming by. Thanks for sitting in. I appreciate it. I really do. Like I said, once we fry this up, we're going to add our avocado to our cooked onion and jalapeno, a little bit of cilantro, fresh cilantro, a little tiny bit of salt to flavor, and then we're going to have our plantains, our fried plantains and avocado dip as a side. Okay, that's all my plantains. Cool. Now when I get my plantains together in a plantain. Yeah, it is decisively easier to fry the plantain first and then smash it and then refry it. But I guarantee you by the time you do that, there's no more flavor left in that plantain because you're trying to just keep that sweet flavor just on the back side of the plantain. Sauce is almost done. Dog scratching at the door. Turn my sauce down. Okay. Beets are going in. Remember, it's just boiling water. Dump our beets in. Now all we're doing is we're bringing that water back up to a boil. Great info in stream. I'll be back. Have a great night. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. So all we're doing is we're waiting for that water to come back up to boil. Give it a little stir. And that's how you cook hard vegetables. It's no different. It's just a molecular structure thing. That's all you're playing with when it comes to cooking the vegetables. You're doing the same thing. And I can take this turnip with the beet and I can saute it in a pan, put a fresh herb on top of it. It's done. You know, or I can put a velouté on top of it as a sauce, toss it together, fresh herbs. It's done. I can take masala and I can put it on it, toss it together. It's done. This thing is perfectly cooked. So past that, to warm it back up, all you do is pass a little bit of heat back through it, and it's warmed up and it's done. So the same thing with every other vegetable, like our soft vegetable. Right now, you notice I cooked the broccoli and I haven't done anything to it. It's literally just sat on the back of the stove and hung out there. It won't overcook because it takes that amount of energy to cook that broccoli. And then once that energy's gone, it's dissipated, there's nothing left. The water can't cook the broccoli anymore because there's no more energy left. So, it's a little bit down. So now I want to take some of this. Oh my God, it did. That's awesome. I want to take, well, that's funny. Jesse.
What?
Remember what I said in the beginning? I didn't want my... That's okay. I said I didn't want my measuring cup to burn through. Oh, by the way, roux is the same temperature as the sun.
Oh,
Yeah.
It actually burnt through it?
It did. So I'm going to take my roux and I'm going to add it to my cheese sauce because I love the flavor and I want to bring a little bit of that nuttiness to it. So I'm adding it to my cheese sauce to thicken it and add a little bit of flavor to it. But mainly to get the thickening right to where it's actually a cheese sauce. Now this is the same thing you we'd do with mac and cheese. It's the same thing you would do when you make Alfredo or anything like that. You take the bechamel, you add the ingredient to it, and then you adjust to the thickness that you want. Because remember, like I said, mac and cheese gets stuck back in the oven after you put the cheese sauce on it. It's only going to get thicker. So mac and cheese sauce that goes on mac and cheese, it's almost runny. And whenever by the time it gets out of the oven, it's nice and creamy and the water is condensed. But a cheese sauce is coming straight off the oven on top of the vegetable. So we got to adjust, so it has to be a little bit thicker. And that's all I'm trying to do now, is bring this to a cheese sauce consistency. And now I can keep adding cheese to it, but all I'm looking for is that balance between the bechamel I don't want it to taste just like cheese. I want it to have that bechamel flavor to it. So I want that toasted flour flavor with the cheese on it. It creates a different depth. My guys over there, my beets are boiling. So brought it back up to a boil, shut it off, take it off the heat, leave it covered, set it aside. Plantain on. Put that on, so I'm gonna start frying my plantains. Set this aside and leave it alone. That's how you cook beets. Now after that beet is cooked, do whatever you want to it. Saute it, put it in, cool it off, put it in a salad. It doesn't matter. Because once you do that, it's done. So now I'm gonna let nature cook my beets just like I let nature cook my turnips, and like I did with the broccoli. The only step was I just brought the beets, the hard vegetables, I just bring back to a boil, and then I cover them and I set them aside. That cheese sauce is just about perfect. Now, with the cheese sauce, because I don't have, if I had a rubber whisk, I would use it in this pan, but I don't. So I'm stirring this in the pan. If I really want like a silky, like a really super aired out silky cheese sauce, I would take it and I would put it in a metal bowl and I would take my metal whisk to it, which I don't know if I want to do that because it's coming up just about perfect. Remember, if you notice, I haven't put salt on anything I've cooked because salt goes in at the end. It's the last thing that you put on a dish. That's good. That's really good. I love it. I might crack a little pepper on this. Whenever I take the broccoli out, I'm going to add a little bit of lemon zest to it just to give it that punch of fresh flavor. Because remember, herbs go in at the beginning, spices go in at the beginning of the meal, herbs go in right before you serve it. So any fresh herb you want to put in on the dish right before it goes out onto the table. You don't want to put herbs in the beginning of the dish because they'll turn bitter and they'll turn sour. And so everything that you're using, spices go in the beginning, herbs go in at the end. That's super important. Yeah, that cheese sauce. Dude.
Probably gonna want to pick it up so they can see it. So when it's done, you're probably gonna want to pick it up so they can see it.
Well, I'm gonna plate it.
Oh.
All right, so our broccoli that we left on the back of the stove. Let me move my plantains real quick. All right, get this guy out of here. Oh. Move my plantains. Let's move on to this. Remember, these are going to go in the oil for a super short amount of time. We're not going to leave these in the oil for long. We just want to cook them through just till it gets soft. And the single fry, like I said, it took a little bit more pressure to push them down, but the flavor profile on only frying it once is just amazing. So put that aside. Stir our cheese sauce. It's coming together. Sound cheese. Okay. Turn that on a little off. Heat there. Broccoli. Hang on, let me do this real quick. I hope you all are hanging in there. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I know that it's not like a normal stream because there's so much knowledge that I want to go through and that I want you to grasp. It's super important that we get it all out. And you can ask me questions, we can discuss stuff, but the knowledge is what matters. And I hope that when you see it and I show it to you, it makes sense. So, take our broccoli. First thing I want to do is Where'd my, that's why. Okay, fair enough. And then I have, one more bowl. Oh, I do. Such a dummy. I got lots of bowls. Just lost my dang mind, that's all. Sorry. Gotta get a bowl out. Broccoli. So now broccoli is inherently holds on to the water that you cook it in. So when you strain it, you should strain it and leave it in the strainer a little bit longer than like a normal vegetable, just so it gets the rest of that little bit of water out of it. So I'm gonna leave it set like this. Let's go to the cutting board. Cheese. Looks good. Oh, that looks good. Love it. Okay, broccoli. Water out of it. Dump it in a bowl. Now you can add a little butter to it. But frankly, if you look, our vegetables are nice and translucent. They're soft. They're cooked perfectly. They maintain the top part nice and bright green. Those are cooked perfectly. So we're going to take a little bit of our lemon. We're going to zest a little bit of lemon in there. You know what? No, I'm not gonna. I wanted to add a little bit of butter just to give it a color. A little bit of. I think I'm gonna do that. A little bit of lemon zest in it. Because what you're doing is you're basically by putting like lemon juice or lemon zest on a vegetable, like especially green vegetables, it brings out that vibrant, fresh flavor. It tricks the tongue into thinking it's eating like fresh off the plant vegetables, and it has that distinct, and a little bit of butter, and a little bit of butter, because I just want a good shiny broccoli, not really for flavor or anything like that. So tossy. But remember, whenever you do that technique where you're boiling the water and you stick the vegetable and you take it off, make sure that the water covers your vegetables. That's the main thing, because any vegetable that hangs outside doesn't get the same amount of energy that the rest of the other vegetables that are actually submerged in the water get. So it has a tendency to undercook a part of it. So we're going to take our broccoli. We're going to set it on our nice dish. There. Take that, set that out there. Kind of push it together. Take our cheese sauce. Stir it. See that? Nice and thick. Great cheese flavor. And then we're going to take our. We didn't even get to our hollandaise. We didn't even get, which is great, because then we have something for tomorrow. So I'm even happier. So tomorrow we will get to the other. Look at the thickness of that. That is great. Look at that. See how it just sits there and it'll start molding itself? So, for this one, I'm going to take a little bit of chive. And I want to chop up some fresh chives. Now, a chive is not a green onion, and a green onion is not a chive. It's a different flavor. It adds a different dimension to a dish. So you can substitute it, but usually a chive is distinct It has a better flavor than the top of a green onion. But we will get to the fried plantains, and we will get to our avocado. So we're gonna take a little black pepper and sprinkle that on top. Wow, that looks ridiculously good. Thank you, Dana, or Denang, as I like to call you. So that's it. That's broccoli and cheese sauce. Broccoli is cooked perfectly. Cheese sauce, like I said, you don't really have to stress the hard stuff. You don't really have to overthink it. You allow the food to cook itself, and it takes care of itself. You're just basically the gatekeeper to the food. I think my plantains are ready. Let's check one. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So we're gonna start throwing some plantains in there. Throw in a little at a time. I don't want to overcrowd the pan. That's a good amount right there. I would move it, but the temperature is perfect. So just look past the cheese sauce to get to view the. I hope you can see it. You can see it, right?
Yeah, you got a good view on it.
So we're just bringing those up. We just want to brown them. That's all we're looking to do. I need a little bit more heat on that. Turn up the heat a little bit. Right now I've got that golf clap going, and I kind of want to go for that sitcom sound. Now remember, the minute they start turning black, the frying pan's too hot. You want them to come out nice and like golden brown. You don't want them to turn black. So we're going to constantly turn them. You can also, if you put them on one side of the frying pan, I don't know if you can see this, but you can flick the oil on top of them like you do with like a schnitzel, or schnitzel. So we're cooking the top the same time we're cooking the bottom. But all we're looking to do is gently saute them until they're soft. Or not saute them, but fry them. Push. And I like using terms that don't apply to what I'm making. Those are about perfect. Just want them to soften up just a little bit. And remember, you get residual heat from the oil that will also cook the plantain a little bit longer. So I want to just take a little paper towel. I want to put it on the back of the stove. Remember, I had a hot burner, so I want to put that away from that hot burner. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to start taking out these plantains. Those are beautiful. Almost didn't make it. So, and you can see the difference between the raw and the cooked. Can you see the difference on the camera?
Not really.
Not really. That's okay. So we do the same thing. Gonna cook our plantains. Remember, we're not, because a lot of times, Josh had brought up, the gentleman who was in here earlier, you fry them, then you smash them, then you fry them again. I don't like to do that because it does take longer to smash them. So you want to get a yellow one. Don't mess with the green plantains. Try and get banana colored plantains so that you're not breaking your wrist trying to smash them down. Avoid the black ones. But yes, and Kelly, I'm going to call you Kelly. Yes, Kelly. I've been a chef for 15 years. So it's been a long time being a chef. So, yes. So these are nice and airy, and they're crispy, and they don't have that black double fry look that plantains get whenever you fry them twice. Because all I'm trying to do is soften up the middle. And frankly, there's enough heat in this oil at about 350 degrees that just the oil on the outside will penetrate through the whole plantain. And it doesn't have that fried oil flavor. It has that nice, sweet plantain flavor. It's just a lighter version of a plantain. So, where are we at? We are in a mess. So I got my, I'll clean up for a second. I'm out of control. So there's our, I'm gonna splash some oil on these. Huh?
I've been at Gabby height the whole time. Forgot the chair moved.
Okay. Again, I'm just gonna squeeze them. Those are nice. So I've got that golf clap sound going on right now, and that's what I want. Set them aside. So after I had sauteed off my onion, my jalapeno, my cumin, I bloomed my cumin, and then I took in, I'm gonna turn my heat just a little bit. I kind of lost that initial fry sound. So I want to bring that back, so I turned up the heat just a little bit. But I had a little bit more sound. Clean up my mess. Getting messy, folks. So, I'm gonna finish my last plantain. Now, if you cook these plantains, and then you're like, oh my gosh, my guests are gonna be another hour before they get there, and you've already got your plantains, because these have a shelf life of about 15-20 minutes. So you wanna literally put them together and put them out as soon as your guests get in, but they do take a little minute to fry. You can always just quickly pass them back through the oil, so that you don't lose the heat, but you don't want to refry them. You want to basically let them sit in there just till they warm up again, and that's it. Because you want that inside to be creamy, but not oil soaked. I was in the stream yesterday, and she was a chef from New Jersey, but lived in LA, and she's a pastry chef. Her parents were Italian, so they loved to cook. That's great. That really is. Yeah, it's. I went to advanced baking school, so I'm not a pastry chef. I know my way around a piping bag, but I'm not as strong in the baking department. I can make breads and almost all pastries, but the decorating and that stuff, that's a little bit over my head. So, taking our sauteed onion. Now, whenever you go to a grocery store and you get an avocado, just put it to the cutting board. You want the avocado to not, you want it to be firm, just like, I don't know how to explain it, but you want it just to have a little bit of give to it. It's not much, just a little bit. Too much and it's overripe, and too little and it's still raw. You can also pop the little top off of it and look inside there, and that kind of tells you the inside of the avocado, what color it's going to be. And always, you know, you're dealing with people picking up avocados all day long and throwing them back into the bin. So even a good avocado, it may feel good, you're going to get it home, and it's going to be all punched out. See, that one's pretty, that's beautiful. So, taking our avocados, cut them open. I had one that had a bruise in it, and you can always put, because we're doing this, we're basically putting this together, so even the little bruised parts aren't gonna adversely affect the color or the flavor. To get this little guy out, take the cutting part of your knife and just punch it in there and turn. Don't whack it in there because I don't want it going into your hand.
Isn't that the chopping part?
Yes, it is. The chopping part. I don't know why I keep calling that the other thing today. Chopping part of your knife.
Nathan Kelly asked, have you suffered any injuries being a chef?
Actually, I have never cut myself with a knife. I have cut myself with everything else in the kitchen, but never a knife. I've cut myself with saran wrap. I've cut myself with cardboard. I've cut myself on water, those high pressure water hoses. I've cut myself with those, but I've never cut myself with a chef knife. I've burnt myself enough, But luckily, I've never cut myself with a chef knife. But yeah, I have plenty of injuries and scars. Grabbing the wrong, you put a pan in the oven to give it some indirect heat to finish something, and then you take it out, and 2 seconds later you grab the handle. You're like, oh, that's right, that was in the oven. That's super hot. So yeah, stuff like that. Faux show. All right, so take a fork. We're gonna smash this up. Now remember, we want to invoke a little bit of fresh flavor into this, and we want to add a little bit of, it's kind of a dip for the plantain, so we're going to add a little bit of, because there's enough liquid in the avocado, where if we smash it up, it'll have a nice consistency. But if we want to thin it out a little bit, and if we want to keep the avocado from turning black, we put a little bit of lime in it. I don't have lime because our grocery store in here had tiny limes, so for fun's sake I'm going to add a little bit of lemon. And if you can tell the difference between a lemon and a lime in an avocado dip, you're a stronger man than I am, because Now, there's my dip. So I'm gonna take, and I wanna taste it, see where we're at, because this is at the point where I decide whether I add salt or not. I'm gonna add a little, just a little bit of salt. The plantains have a sweetness to it, so I'm gonna add a little bit of kosher salt. Like I said, I just want to put it in there to flavor at the end. A little bit more lemon. I wish you could cook for me right now. Huh. But no, if you could cut yourself on vegetables. Yeah? I'm everything else in the kitchen I find a hazard, but I'm pretty good around a chef knife. Luckily, I've never hurt myself. So I've got my, I'm gonna take my cilantro.
He's back and he's black.
Hey James, welcome back. We made broccoli and cheese. Right now we're working on our plantain and avocado dip, and then we'll finish it up with our, remember, we're using our knife, same exact cut. It's the same cut. We're keeping our knife on the cutting board at all times. And all we're doing is sawing through the top part of this cilantro, so that, and we're gonna come back and use the chopping side of the knife, which is the back. Remember, this is the chopping part of the blade, this is the cutting part, and this is the slicing part. Chef knives has 3 different blades to it. Know which blade you're using for what. So I'm gonna chop up that cilantro because I want that fresh herb flavor in my stuff. Now, if tomatoes were in season, I could sneak a little bit of tomato in there, but they're not right now. We still got a little bit of time before they come into season. So we're gonna put that aside. Okay, I'm gonna mix that up. And we're gonna taste it. And right now, there's really, because I took the jalapeno and I seeded it, there's really no jalapeno flavor. It's not really prominent. I'm hoping the salt will help bring that out. That's really good. So, let's clean up our mess a little bit. Put my cilantro aside. I'm gonna plate up this dish, so I'm gonna put this aside real quick. There's a lot of asides. I hope you guys are learning something. I hope you guys are having fun. I know I am. You guys can hit the follow button. We do this 6 days a week, 6 o'clock most nights. Tuesday night we do an early one. We do it at 2. But during the week we do it at 6 o'clock every night. And on the weekends we'll start doing bonus streams there's some farmers markets around here that we can go to on Saturday in the morning, and we can show you the lack of farmers markets that are in town. So we're gonna take this. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. 1, 2. Remember, this is like a party dip. So we're gonna take our avocado. And every time you make a dish, you want to add something at the end of it so that they know what they're getting into, so you don't have to keep telling them, like, this is avocado. So what you do is you take a little bit of that avocado that I have left that had the bruise in it. See, I've got one avocado that has that bruise down there, but I'm gonna core it. I'm just gonna punch that little guy out real quick. Then I'm gonna take a spoon. I'm gonna take the spoon. I'm gonna come into the avocado right here, and I just want to peel the outside, avoiding that bruise. Whoop. Scoop it right out. Okay. Now inside here, there's some good stuff, but that's for the chef. Chef gets to eat that. We're gonna use our sharp part of our blade, our slicing part, which is the tip of a chef's knife. We're gonna angle our body. Aw, thank you, James. We're gonna angle our body at a 45-degree angle. Okay, and we're gonna look over top of our cut, and we're gonna cut this stuff as thin as we can get. We're going down, and we're just pulling the knife back through. See that? Down through, down through. These are thin as I can get them. There we go. All right. Now we're going to use a little tiny fork. I'm going to separate them. I hope. I'm going to set that on top. I'm fancying it up today. Curl that on top. Fancy, curl on top. Curl on top. So that they know that they're getting avocado. Okay? Then, because, like I said, if we had a little bit of tomato, we can put some tomato on top. But right now, because I don't have tomato, what I do have is a little bit of, if I can find it. Is this it? Yay. Because my jalapeno didn't do the job, I'm going to take a little cayenne pepper, and I just want to dust the top. Just a little bit, give it a little color. Now my plantains are done. Perfect. Bring my plantains over here. I'm going to take my plantains. I'm going to start working my plantains in here. And you don't want to overcrowd your dish because you can always send out more than one dish. Don't make it look like a Super Bowl party dish. Make it look delicate and pretty. And if you need to make another one, you can. But don't like overcrowd your dishes. Like I've got all these extra plantains, but if I serve this, I can always have a backup. So, last thing I want to do is take some of that fresh cilantro, kind of sprinkle it on the plantains. kick it all over the place. So that is fried plantains with an avocado dip. And I wish the camera could pick that up better than it is. Okay? Do you agree that good chefs say bon appetit after making a meal? I don't know if good chefs say bon appetit after making a meal. I think French chefs say that. And I'm just like, hey, if you like it, great. Thanks a lot. I'm going to go lay down now. I always say that. I'm like, I'm going to go take a nap. Because I just spent hours making you a meal. So there's my fried plantains, avocado. There's my broccoli and cheese. And now, for the last dish tonight, we've got our beets, which are now, remember, all I did was I put them in the water, and then I came back, brought it back up to a boil, and then I covered it and I shut it off, and I put it aside. That's all I did. There's no guesswork in this. It's just that simple. And there you go. Cooked perfectly every. Where you at? Can I have the table, please? Cooked perfectly. I don't know why my camera's way down there. Cooked perfectly every time. Perfectly cut. Perfect texture. It actually tastes like a beet. Now, man alive, my kitchen needs a clean. Needs a clean. So we're going to take our pan, finish up our beets, or turn up our beets. Turn up the beets, folks. We're going to put it to a medium high. We're going to strain our beets. Where's my strainer? Oh, there it is. Oh, my strainer. Run my beets through a strainer.
If you're getting fancy, can you add a splash of gravy?
A splash of gravy?
That's what Nathan Kelly said.
Gravy on the. What do we add in the gravy to? Just whatever's in the way. Like anybody unsuspectingly walking into the kitchen, you splash them with a little.
Dump hot gravy on it.
Splash your face with some gravy. On the Brussels or the beets and turnips. All I'm going to do with them, because I really enjoy the simplistic flavor of a good turnip and a good beet, I'm just going to saute them in a little bit of a little bit of olive oil, which everybody knows that most olive oil is garbage. But all I'm trying to do is get a little bit of flavor of the olive oil in the dish. So I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to the pan, and I want to start to warm that up till I smell it. That's the most important part when it comes to oils or anything like that. You want to be able to, once you start smelling it, it's before the flash point. So you want to get a little bit of smell. And then we're going to toss our beets and our turnips. We're going to add some chives and a little bit of cilantro. And then we're trying to kind of stay basic right now until we go to the countries. Because once we get into the different countries, then we'll start exploring the spices that go with those things. Remember, I'm using, go to the table, please. I'm using the cutting blade, or the chopping blade of the knife, so I'm using the back of the knife and just running it along. Knife never leaves the table. Somebody's here. So the knife never leaves the table. So just do a nice little chops through all of it. don't even know who's here. It's too dark. Somebody important, I'm sure. So, we're gonna add a little chives, and then olive oil's about heated up. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put in my beets. What's here? Yeah, rock concert. Because remember, all we're trying to do in this is we're trying to just give it a little bit of color. So,
That camera's frozen again.
huh?
That camera's frozen again.
Which one?
So,
Yeah, camera's frozen. I'll just bring it over there. Everything else is working. Yeah. Oh, the camera froze on the stove. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody's obviously here. Nobody's gonna get here. Nobody. Somebody was at the door. Nobody is. Sorry, my for some reason my stove camera froze up. It always happens right at about how many? What do we? It's every night 3 o'clock, 3 hours in. My stove camera goes good night, falls asleep. So. Trust me, I'm cooking something over here. All I'm trying to do is bring a little color into it. Then I'm going to add my beets or my turnips. Then I'm going to add my chives. A little bit of pepper. I'm gonna let that saute. Basically, I'm just warming it back through. Ooh. So, right now, like I said, I'm just sauteing up a little bit of, turn up the beets. I'll put a little chive in there. I'm gonna add a little bit of cilantro to it. All I'm trying to do is bring the heat back into it. Then I'm gonna take a little bit of this gut. I don't know why. Because they're in here. I'm gonna add a little lemon zest to it. And like I said, we're not really gonna complicate the spice menu yet because I want to get into the countries so that we understand where the dish is coming from and then the angle or the direction that we're aiming it. We used some cumin tonight. This is like a starter, just to have fun with it. So, got a little side dish, huh? A little salt. Again, a little pepper. Trying to stay basic. So we got our Hang on, folks. You deserve better than this. You don't deserve this mess. Give me 10 seconds. Let me clean up everything. Set this aside. Yeah, clean up our cutting board. I gotta keep one side of my cutting board pretty for the decorative show. That. So, let's give it a little bit. There we go. No? Let me out, Jesse. So, we got our broccoli, which is now flushed out. Maybe that will help. Broccoli and cheese. We've got our turnip the beets. And then we've got our plantains and avocado dish. Great side dishes. Like I said, we took a bechamel. I know, rock concert, yeah. And the turnips and our beets, all we did was we cooked them as hard vegetables, and then we just sauteed them together with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of lemon, a little salt and pepper. Keep it very simple. Once we start going into the regions and the countries, then we'll take those same dishes and we'll start to transform them into different countries so that you can appreciate the distinct flavor that you get from those certain countries. So for now, until we get through our vegetables, and then when we get through our pastas and grains, we're gonna kind of keep it simple so that everything that we make, it has a base. So these are nice side dishes. This is a nice starter dish. Like I said, it's just a little avocado with some fried plantains. And of course, broccoli and cheese sauce is a great side dish. It's a bechamel, and then we added cheese to it. And then I love beets and I love turnips, but there's so many wrong ways to cook a there's so many wrong ways to cook a turnip. There's so many wrong ways to cook a beet that if you don't appreciate the vegetable for what it is and try and bring out the most flavor you can from it, then you're robbing yourself of the intricate little delicate flavors that are in each of these things. So, you guys have any questions? Tomorrow is Friday, and we have our sit down and talk time. I still might make something, I'm not sure yet. I know that whatever I do, I want to finish up with the vegetables to kind of work us into the next week whenever we start to get it, because we cooked seasonal vegetables this week, so we were limited. But as the seasons come in, as we start to roll through the seasons, and we start to have different vegetables available, like the tomatoes when they come into season, or eggplant when it comes into season, we'll be able to cook dishes with those. But I really want to primarily stay into the seasons of the dish. But I want my tech guy, he's probably never eaten a beet in his life,
You're not wrong.
to try the turn up the beets dish. Okay, hang on a second. Don't go anywhere. Let's turn up the beets.
Oh wow.
It's all about controlling the vegetable. Taste it when it's raw, so that when you cook it, you'll understand where it's going to go. If it's too sweet or it's too bitter, you can always adjust before. Once it's cooked, you're kind of chasing your own tail. So you always want to be prepared for the vegetable before you cook it. And then here's the, I don't want to wreck it because we still have to take pictures. There's the broccoli and cheese.
Oh my god.
And then,
All my forks right there, so you should read.
because I didn't, and then like for the kitchen staff, if you want them to try the dish, Here's the avocado dip with the plantain chip. So,
That's my favorite.
oh, okay. We got a favorite on the avocado and plantain dip. So, whenever you deal with vegetables, whenever you deal with seasonal items, you want to bring out the most flavor you can from them and utilize their strength and kind of help their weaknesses along. Like the weakness of a beet and a turnip is turnips are super bitter if not cooked properly. But by sitting them in the water like that, they'll sit there and that bitterness will get washed out. Because remember, water equals dilution. So when we dilute the water in the turnip, it gets less bitter. And then usually they're nice and delicate and sweet flavored. And if you taste them whenever you first cut them up raw, they'll have that initial bitter aftertaste. So if that's there, just by doing this, you eliminate that and it cooks them perfectly. Same with the beets. We just sliced them up and put them in boiling water, waited for it to come back up to boil, covered it, and took it off the heat. That's how you cook vegetables. That's how you cook all hard vegetables. Soft vegetables, which is the broccoli, you just bring it up to a boil, put the vegetable in there, make sure it's covered in water, and then shut it off, put a lid on it, and take it off the heat. And then that will cook that vegetable perfectly. It eliminates the guesswork of cooking vegetables, and it keeps the front top part of the delicate part of the broccoli stays intact, and then the stem, because we split the stem when we were taking the broccoli apart, it cooks through the stem too, so that's got a little bit of bite to it, but the top is at the exact same texture. And then our plantains, some people fry them, smash them, fry them again. I like to smash them if you can, try and get a dark yellow or a little bit of spotty black plantain. And right now the plantains that I'm getting at the grocery store are mostly green, so if you get a green plantain, just get it a week before you're going to use it and allow it to sit out and ripen to the point where when you're smashing it, it just smashes down easily. You have no reason to sit there and work at it to try and get it to go down. Yes. Rock concert is going strong. Turn up the beats. Yes, turn up the beats. And so these are the simple, and it's all about the vegetable, and it's all about, you know, cooking dishes that you can enjoy, but you also have to pay homage to the vegetable itself. You know, a lot of people make broccoli and they put cheese on it to cover up the taste of the broccoli. But I want that broccoli to have the same strength as the cheese does. I want it to both be there. Because don't put anything in a dish that doesn't show up in the end. If you can't taste it in the end, there's no reason to put it in a dish. So everything you do, you've got to deal with each individual item and make sure you bring out the most flavor of that item. And sometimes you do that by cheating it with using different products of the same type, like the lemon juice, then you get the lemon peel and you get the pulp. Those things can be put in the same dish, so they're at different stages of the bite to where you get that lemon flavor throughout in different kinds of texture and potency. And the same thing with the other food, you've got the opportunity to sit there and stack and play around with it. And at no point do you need a recipe to do this. You just need to understand how to cook the vegetables properly, how to make a couple mother sauces. If you get comfortable making the 5 mother sauces, which we'll go over again and again and again, then you're able to start creating dishes that are simple, but they carry all the flavor of a professional chef, because this is super simple. Follow the simple guidelines and start stacking your knowledge on top of each other, and you'll start to create dishes out of simple vegetables. We made a carrot ceviche yesterday, which has like 6 ingredients in the whole thing, and most of that is carrots. Actually, I think it only has 5. Add the parsley. It's water, carrots, sugar, lemon, and parsley. So there's 5 ingredients in it. So it's super important that you understand the vegetable, and it's super important that you cook it according to its limit. Don't overcook it, and then allow it to be a vegetable. Allow it to have its own flavor. So Sir Francis said that, you know, an apple should taste like an apple, a piece of meat should taste like a piece of meat. So allow it to be that. Don't cover it, don't hide it. So allow it to have its own flavor, and it kind of coax that flavor away from bitterness and put it into that right spot where somebody who eats it for the first time, they say, oh wow. Because they may hate broccoli, but most likely it's because they ate broccoli that wasn't cooked correctly. So once you start to learn how to cook vegetables properly, all the flavors there, and you still get the nutrients, the vitamins, the fiber, and people will start eating their vegetables. So these are my dishes. I had fun tonight. I kind of got behind a little bit. I got kind of inundated, but I think I kept up. I like my dishes. I know I didn't get to the asparagus, but I have tomorrow. I got asparagus and my zucchini and squash. I've got that too. So I have food to cook for tomorrow. So that's great. So we'll finish up the week by starting off by cooking some vegetables. And then we'll move into discussion, find out how we did. What do you guys think? And like I said, if you enjoyed it, please follow us. If you want, you can absolutely subscribe to us. You can donate to our smoker fund. So when I start doing the barbecues from around the world, we'll have a smoker that can handle all the different styles of barbecue from around the world, from South America, the United States to the Asia continent. Everybody has a certain barbecue. And I want to touch on all of those so that everybody has a collective understanding that food is worldwide, no matter where it originates from. It always permeates everybody all over the world at some time. So, but for that, I'm going to need a smoker that actually puts out, because I have to do indirect smoking, I got to do some cold smoking. There's a lot of stuff that a smoker has to do that's versatile in those different things. So, and we're also probably going to cure smoke some bacon, and we're just going to use that thing to death. So if you're up for it, help us out in that department. But I really appreciate you guys coming in. I don't know, I think my tech guy fell asleep. Can we raid somebody? Who's up?
It's /, right?
Yeah, but who's up? Who are we raiding? Hang on a second.
Miss Molly Cakes. Oh wait, those just your following channels.
Yeah, you can raid her.
Okay.
No, she's just tuning. Let's see.
Survival.
Yeah, raid Molly Cakes. We're gonna raid Molly Cakes. She doesn't even know it, man.
So it's /raid.
Yep, and then space, and then her name. Thank you, Luckiest. I really appreciate it. Like I said, today was strange. I felt I never caught up to myself. I hope everything went well. I hope it made sense. I hope that you guys learned something. I hope that you go away with this with knowledge of something that you're like, I'm gonna try that next time I go in the kitchen. These are just little tips to edge you closer to not only having more vibrant flavored food, but making cooking easier. Yeah, blooming our spices is absolutely a must. And you'll notice a difference right away with the first thing that you make. You can do it anytime.
Oh, okay.
Don't wait on me. So, I appreciate you guys coming in. I know, I'm gonna eat the food. I gotta take pictures first. If I don't take pictures, I get in trouble. So I gotta take pictures, and then thank you guys for coming in. Like I said, tell everybody you know, tell everybody you don't know. We could use the support and we use the help. And tomorrow it starts at 6, and we will go finish the vegetables, and then we'll have a chat, and then we'll decide what we're doing next week. But I believe next week we may creep into some vegetables, but then we're gonna start our pastas and grains, and that should be fun. So thank you guys for coming in. And for the ones that stuck around, and for the ones that just dropped in and dropped back out, I really appreciate it. So, thank you. Go ahead and hit raid now.
Oh, I thought I already.
No, it's up top in the purple. It's on the right hand side.
Gotcha.